Hello, welcome. This is my second ever project. It's about tracking your medicine and staying organized. And yeah, the point was basically to get comfortable with React and to use a third-party API through project-based learning. And I decided to call it RXGuide. I don't know. And here are my wireframes. So I used Figma and I just copy pasted some PNGs. So I wanted to go for like a cute look because most med apps are basically like very serious looking. So I decided to go for this, and this is my component hierarchy before I knew how to actually make a proper one. But yeah, that's how I did it back then because I was very new to React. Here's an API data sample and my project schedule, my timeframes. Took me 36 hours-ish to hit MVP at the time. Let me introduce you to the app, right? So when you go to the homepage, we are welcomed by this screen here, and we have prescriptions. That's basically all the prescriptions that people added in the about page, right? These ones. So you can create one here. You can add your own custom med. And in here, that's the added meds. And right here, it's an empty array. So what happens is that in my Airtable API, I have two tables, prescriptions and added meds. And added meds is sort of like a fake user where you basically pick from the list of prescriptions that people add to this like med Wikipedia thing going on, and it's added to here. And we have these three fields. We have the name of the med, the time taken, and the image, right? So if I decide that I want to take Prozac at 8 a.m. is gonna show up right here, right? So it's taken at 8:32. I can edit the time, right? So if I edit it to 8 p.m., I can do this, and it's changing, right? And I can delete it here, right? And it's like a fake refresh sort of animation with the trash bin icon. So I can create couple ones, right? I can create this one, and I can create Tylenol, right? Anyways, let's say I want to take Humira, right? So like the first one I created is sort of at the top, right? And the latest one at the bottom. The reason why I did this is because most med apps, that's actually how it's organized. The first one you make shows up first. And the way I did it is that in Home.jsx, I have this API request, right? So the response await get added meds, and it's an async function happening at the use effect, and the fetch meds is in this dependency array. So get added meds is a function, right? And we have this URL here, and the API key is protected, so you can see it in the GitHub. It's in an env file, and it's interpolated here in a string. Basically, we do this async function. We try the response and the headers, right? And we give the key here in the authorization, and we just return the response here, right? And we catch the error, throw error if there is any. So we set the added meds, right? So we have this empty array here, right? And we set them to get sorted meds, added meds response, right? So without the get sorted meds, it would actually not be sorted. So if I create Prozac, yeah, it's showing at the top, but that's not how I want it to be. I want whichever I create first to show up at the top, as you see, right? So I created Gas X first, Prozac latest, and Prozac is showing at the bottom. So how? Well, this is a function that I imported from the services files, and basically we take these meds as a parameter, and we sort them by record A, record B. So date 1 is record A, that created time, and we get the time value by milliseconds. And same thing with day 2. And basically, if date 1 is less than day 2, we return -1. If date 1 is greater than day 2, we return 1, else we return 0. And then we return sorted meds. So that's how I sort of like sort them like this with this function. And again, I decided to do it just because it just didn't feel right to me. If this was Twitter, then yeah, sure, I would want the latest post to show at the top. But because it's not, it's a med tracker, whichever one I created first, I want it to be at the top basically. So that's the home page, right? And let's see. So I can go and create a custom med, right? In here, which is going to show it the about page, which is like sort of like a med Wikipedia, and I sort of used it in my fourth project, and I can show that in a different video. But anyways, let's say I want to create one, so I can create aspirin, right? Oh, aspirin, okay, and anti-inflammatory non-steroidal drug. That's what NSAID means, and I can just copy this from Wikipedia once again, and you could just paste it here, right? And I can find an image, and I guess I can do this, and I can preview here. So here's the name in the PNG, and it looks nice, right? And if I click here, it says, "Are you sure?" and it gives you all the fields, and you can cancel it, right? And it goes back. If you create it, it goes to the, it says medication added, and it redirects you to the about page. And if I search aspirin, there it is, and we get the class, the name, and the description, right? So how did I do that? Okay, so if I go to custom.jsx, we have this handle submit, we prevent default, and it say if window confirm, are you sure you want to add it, right? And we have the name, and it interpolates the fields like what we have entered, the class, med class. And the reason why I call it med class instead of class is because class is actually a reserved word, I think, right? That's why. So I can't use class. I could use classification, but it's just too long, right? I don't want it to be that long. I want it to be descriptive, so it's the class of, it's a class of the med, right? And I don't want it to be too long, because that gets it gets confusing a bit, like if you misspell stuff, right? So once we confirm it, it's gonna alert medication added, right? Else we return, and we actually need this else statement, or else it's gonna redirect us to the about page without actually creating the med, which is really weird for the user experience. And here we have the access post, and we actually need these fields here, and the headers again, and we set created to created, right? So we have this use state to false, and created is basically this post request, right? And if created, we redirect to about, and redirect is from React Red DOM. That's how I redirect you to about. Now, how do I do the search thing in the about? I'll show you this. So if we don't have all meds, we have this circular progress thing going on, like a really short animation. But the thing is that Airtable API is so good that like it's so fast that like you're not even gonna see it. But like I'm gonna make it true just to show you. So it's going to show this basically. But like Airtable API is so fast that like it's like you're not gonna even notice. But anyways, basically what I do is that all meds are set to an empty array, right? Search is set to false. Filtered meds is all meds that filter med. The name to lowercase includes search, right? To lowercase. And here is just all meds, right? And we give it the link here. And then the meds JSX is actually the filtered meds. And there's a reason why I'm separating these two. So here, if search is false, we have this H2 that says list of medications, right? But if search is, and it shows meds, right? But if it's true, if search is true, it's going to show meds JSX without this without this header text basically. So I'll show you, if I search for something, it's gone, right? So that's why I do it that way. Right, and then I have this search file here, and I give it search in props. So the value is search, right? And on change, we set search to e.target.value. So that's how I do this, right? In here, we interpolate the value, right? So that's really cool. So that's how I do that. Yeah, so that's that part. What's next? If I write something that doesn't exist, like this, it's going to say, and it's going to say, okay, sorry, location.path name doesn't exist, right? and then gives me a link, go back, right? And I can go back, right? And did you notice how the header actually changed, right? So if I go here, you see that? That's kind of cool. Yeah. I'll show you how I did that. So in app.jsx, I have this component error. So basically it's going to check all these components and then it's going to hit this component, right? And basically in error.jsx, sorry, location.pathname.replace the slash with an empty string doesn't exist, right? The reason why I have this slash is because the slash here is actually a part of location.pathname, right? So if I get rid of it, if I get rid of the replace function, you see that the slash is showing. So that's why I do that, right? And I can go back, right? So it's a nav link to slash, go back. And I use style components here. I don't use style components for everything. I just use it for when it's not a lot of CSS going on. So I can just put it in the same component. But if I had to, I would move it to a separate JS file, like if it was too much. Or I would use CSS. What else? So when I delete a medication, I have this like fake refresh going on, just for like a user experience thing going on. So in med.jsx, yeah, we have this handle delete, and we have this is refreshed to false. And when we delete something, we set a timeout async, and we set is refreshed to true, and we set it to false, right? And we have this 150 millisecond going thing going on right now, the 150 millisecond thing. If it is refreshed, we have this circular progress imported from Material UI core. Else we have this image, which is the actual trash bin, right? So that's how I do that. If it's editable, we have this taken at and the time. And you're probably wondering, well, why do you have this editable thing? Well, this med.jsx is actually used in the about page as well, right? So we have here, right? But editable is false, so it's actually not going to have this thing right here, right? So if editable is true, right, we have this guard operator, we have this, right? And then we have this update med thing that allows us to update everything, the time, right? And yeah, so editable is set to false, but in home.jsx, it's actually set to true. So that's how I do that. And the way I map through all the prescriptions is I do const prescriptions all in caps, right? And that's sort of like a convention thing going on. I actually, if I had to do it again, I would probably do like meds JSX. I like that more, but some people do it in all caps, which is okay, I guess. The reason why I use React.children to array, it's a built-in function. And basically what it does is that it just gives everything its own key prop, right? Just like that. The same thing. But the only reason I use it this way, that app, is just so I remember that it's a thing. Because it is a little bit confusing. Like if I worked with a team, I would definitely do it that way without React.children.toArray, because I think it's more readable, right? And it would work. It would literally work the same way. Like if I go here, right, and I go to my components tab, right, and I select this, right, so we can see that it has, you see the key right here. So the key is set to the ID. It's exactly the same thing. Let me see. Not exactly. I think it's going to give it like a decimal, right? Yeah, so it's actually, it has a dot before the actual ID. So it's a little bit different if you notice here. But everything has its own key. It's the same thing basically. So it's whatever you prefer. I mean, React really likes keys, so why not use its own built-in function? But again, in my later apps, I actually use key. So in the layout, the burger, we have the burger, and if we go inside, we use style components for conditional rendering. And the thing I like about style components is that you can give props, you can destructure the prop, right? So like open is a prop here, it's set to false, and I give it to this component here. So styled component is a styled div, and I give the open prop here, and on click we set the open to like true, basically to the opposite of what it was initially, right? And we have these three divs, which are basically the lines. So open, false, true, false. That's what it does. So basically here you have this animation going on here on these three divs. And basically we just structure the prop, and if I wanted to, I wouldn't even have to do it like that. I could just do like this. 1 second. I could just do it like that, props, right? And if props.open, it's black, else it's pink. So that's for this color, right? Right now it's black, else it's pink. Same thing, right? But I like destructuring the prop. It's just my thing, I guess. Yeah, and if it's open, the first div here is going to rotate 45 degrees, else it's not going to rotate it at all. And then inside we have this open nav. So open nav is this component. This is burger, this is a burger, and this is the open nav, right? So inside we give it the props open and set open, right? And basically if I go inside, we have open set open here destructured. We have this UL here, right? It's a styled UL. And if I wanted to, I could put it in a separate JS file, which I actually did in my third project. I had a burger menu, which is a little bit more complex and had a lot more CSS in it. So I actually put it in a separate file, and that's the project is called root, and it's in a different video in my portfolio. You can check it out. But anyways, if it's open, we translate we translate x0, else we translate x 100%. So I can show you that. In the box shadow, if it's open, it has that like that peach puff box shadow at the side, because the reason why I have it is if I got rid of it, it's, you see that it's too, I don't know how to call it, but it's not smooth, right? And if I have it like this, right, so if it's open, it has that nice thing, right? And if it's not open, we don't have anything, right? The reason why I do that is because you see there's a little bit of like that peach puff thing showing on here, right? So that's actually why I have this conditional here. Yeah, see that? So it's only when it's open, basically. So that's why. And overflow scroll, that's just if like you have it like really zoomed in. 1 second. Let me zoom out of that. Wait, what? Yeah, let me zoom into this. That's why, right? So if like you zoom really a lot, you can actually scroll. So that's why I do this, right? That's why I have that overflow scroll thing going on, right? And also this icon takes you to the home page if you click on it. Forgot to say that. It's same thing, yeah, translate x0 and then 100%, right? So like if I wanted to do a negative 100%, I'm pretty sure it would come from the left side instead of the right side. Let me show you. Oh, wait, what? Yeah. So like if I had translate y, it would come from the bottom, right? Like this. And if I wanted to do negative 100, it would come from the top like this, like, right? But the reason why I use translate x is because I want it to come from here, actually, right? And negative 100, it gives you something weird. Yeah. Yeah, it's the negative 100 thing only works in small media queries. It doesn't work in if you have it like this. But yeah, that's why I have it on positive 100%. Yeah, because the burger menu is at the right side, and I want it to come from the right, because it just makes sense as a user that it comes from that side and not from the top, or the bottom or the left side. And yeah, I passed the open prop again to this UL, right? And here I just structure it, right? And again, you can just use props instead of destructuring it, but I like to do it like this. Another thing, so I use conditional rendering on the props dot location dot path name. So if you see this about thing, if I'm in the about page, it's not showing, right? Because as a user, I don't really need this button anymore because I'm already in this page, right? So if I go to footer links, so basically how I do this, if props.location.path name equals to about, we don't show it, right? Else we show it. That's basically how I do it, right? So that's how I do this. And also I have my fourth project is called Care, and it actually uses this to track mids here. You can track your food, you can track your mood, everything. So like if I add a mid, right, like this, why do you take it? When do you take it, right? So I can do that, right? You have to take it at that time, right? You have to take it in a day, and I use it here. So that's really cool, right? And I can edit it. And if it's a pastime, you were supposed to, and if I take it, right? Did you take it? Yes. And you took it, right? And you can delete it. So that's really cool. I actually use it as in this app. This is really what I wanted my second project to be. I wanted to be like an app where you can track all sorts of things, but I just, at a time, I wasn't, my capabilities were a little bit behind. I couldn't do this, but a month and a half later, it's just a small thing in a big app. And this app, everything is a Rails API as a backend and React on the front end. But I use this RXGuide Airtable API to map through the meds in the selection, but it does create them in the backend. But that's for a different video. I'll show you everything how I do that. It's really nice. But that's really what I wanted my second project to be. Well, anyways, that was my second project, RXGuide. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any more questions. I will try to answer them as soon as possible. And I hope you check out my other projects. See you guys next time.